You ever have one of those moments where everything seems fine on the surface, like you're floating in a nice warm pool, but then someone rips the drain plug out and suddenly you're spiraling into the deep end? Yeah, that was me. Until 2 months ago, I thought I had a solid marriage. Not perfect, sure, but we were fine. We laughed sometimes, we fought over Netflix, we shared a mortgage and a dog. Normal stuff. But looking back now, I realize I was asleep at the wheel. And my wife? She was already halfway out the door. Her name's Michelle. Blonde. Big laugh. Used to doodle little hearts next to my name in her planner, back when people still used planners. When we met, she was spontaneous and sweet, little chaotic. Yeah, but I like that. Made me feel like life wouldn't get boring. Spoiler, it didn't. Not for the reasons I'd hoped. Anyway, here's the thing. I never thought she'd cheat on me. Not her. We've been together almost 8 years. I trusted her like you trust a smoke alarm, always there, reliable, maybe a little annoying at 3 a.m., but still watching out for you. Until one Thursday morning, I'm brushing my teeth, and I see a weird sore on my lip. Not a cold sore. Different. I Google it like an idiot. Big mistake. Couple days later, I'm sitting in a clinic with a paper robe and too much time to think. The nurse walks in. Says it all casual. Well, you tested positive for syphilis. I blink. Wait, what? I actually laughed. Out loud. Because that made about as much sense as getting struck by lightning in your basement. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't even thought about cheating. So where the hell did that come from? She looks at me like I'm the dumbest guy on earth. You do know it's sexually transmitted, right? Yeah, I do. Which is exactly why my stomach dropped into my shoes. So I leave the clinic feeling like I just got hit by a semi made of shame and confusion. I sit in my car, engine running, but my hands aren't moving. Just staring out the windshield like maybe the answer is going to show up in the fog. Spoiler, it doesn't. On the drive home, all I can think about is Michelle. My wife. My supposedly faithful wife. We've been in a little dry spell lately, sure, but I thought that was just marriage. Stress. Work. Life. I chalked it up to normal. But now? Now I was looking at every little distance, every skipped kiss goodnight, every I'm too tired tonight with a microscope. When I walk through the door, she's sitting on the couch, flipping through Instagram like her world hasn't just imploded mine. Hey, babe, she says without looking up. Dinner's in the fridge. Dinner? Seriously? I just found out I've got an old school STD like I time traveled from the 1800s, and she's talking about lasagna. I sit down across from her. I'm shaking, but I keep my voice calm. Hey. I went to the doctor today. She glances up. A flicker of something guilt maybe? Or gas? Hard to tell with her. Oh, everything okay? And here's where I made my first mistake. I told her straight up. I said, they told me I have syphilis. She didn't blink. Didn't gasp. Didn't cry. Just sat there. Silent. So I asked her, is there anything you want to tell me? Nothing. Dead silence. Like I hadn't just dropped a nuclear bomb on the living room rug. I waited. I gave her every chance. And she just stared at me, mouth slightly open, like her brain was still buffering. Finally, I say, Michelle, I haven't been with anyone but you. And she goes, are you accusing me? Oh, the audacity. Like I just accused her of stealing a stapler, not infecting her husband with a centuries-old disease. That's when I saw it, the twitch in her eye. The way her fingers tightened around her phone. That wasn't confusion. That was fear. But not oh no, what have I done? Fear. More like oh no, did I get caught? Fear. She didn't deny it. She didn't admit it either. She just went quiet. Then, in classic Michelle fashion, she stood up, muttered something about needing air, and walked out the door. Left me sitting there, staring at our wedding photo on the wall like it was mocking me. But here's where things get weirder. The next day, I get a text. Not from Michelle. From a number I don't recognize. No name. Just, I think we need to talk. About Michelle. That text sat on my screen like a grenade with the pin halfway pulled. I think we need to talk. About Michelle. No name. No punctuation. Just cold, direct, and way too familiar. I stared at it for a while, debating. I didn't reply right away. I mean, who does after a message like that? Could have been a scam. Could have been some prank. But deep down, I knew. I just knew. This wasn't random. This was a thread, dangling from the edge of a sweater I hadn't realized was already unraveling. I waited an hour before I finally texted back. Who is this? 5 minutes later. Someone you need to hear from. I didn't know she was married. My hands went ice cold. My stomach twisted like I'd just taken a punch. I paced the room, phone in hand, trying to breathe. This was it. Confirmation. I hadn't even confronted Michelle again yet, and the universe was already playing connect the dots for me. I texted back. Call me. 30 seconds. That's how long it took for the phone to ring. His name was Eric, and he sounded just as wrecked as I felt. Said they met on a work thing. I didn't even know Michelle had a job. Turns out she'd been doing freelance marketing gigs on the side for the past year. Supposedly. Spoiler, she wasn't doing much marketing. They'd been seeing each other for 5 months. Casual, he said. Nothing serious. And then, get this, she told him she was divorced. I laughed. Not a ha-ha laugh. The kind of laugh you make when the foundation of your life cracks and you're just standing there with your hands in your pockets like, well, guess this is happening. I asked him, straight up, you sleep with her? Long pause. Then, yeah, I'm sorry, man, if I'd known. But that's not the worst part. The worst part was what he said next. She got really weird the last couple weeks. Kept canceling. Got defensive. Then I started itching. So I went to the doctor and, well, same diagnosis as you. Yep, she gave it to both of us. And neither of us had known about the other. Until now. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. I just lay there in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the occasional creak of the house like it was trying to apologize. Michelle was still out, didn't even come home that night. Probably with Eric. Or whoever else she was juggling between her perfectly manicured fingers. The thing is, I couldn't even summon rage yet. I was past that. I was in the numb but weirdly productive stage of heartbreak. You ever hit that point? Where your life explodes, but suddenly you have this eerie sense of clarity. I was there. Laser focus. So I did what every betrayed husband with an internet connection and too much time does. I started digging. And buddy, oh man. Turns out Michelle wasn't just seeing Eric. There was another one. Let's call him Dylan. Found him through her photo backups in the cloud. She forgot to log out of her shared Apple account. Bless her cheating little heart. I'd never seen his face before, but there he was, arms around her in a selfie, taken at some bar 2 towns over. Timestamp? 1 week before she told me she was going on a girls' trip. Best part? She tagged it with #freedom. I don't know what's more insulting, that she was cheating, or that she was lazy and smug about it. Anyway, I did what any curious idiot would do. I messaged Dylan. Took him a day to reply. His response? Wait, she's married? Yup. Another one. That makes 2 men. Both of them think she's single. Both of them sleeping with her. Both of them now diagnosed with syphilis. It's like a twisted version of The Bachelor, except instead of a rose, everybody gets a rash. But here's where things took a sharp left turn into the absurd. I asked Dylan how they met. He said, Tinder. Michelle is on Tinder. Swiping. Matching. Lying. Under a fake last name, of course. Using photos I took of her. The irony there was just chef's kiss. Now I'm sitting on a mountain of proof. I have photos. I have texts. I have 2 unwitting boyfriends with matching prescriptions. And meanwhile, she still hasn't said a word about it. But guess who finally walked through the front door this morning? Michelle. Hair messy. Sunglasses on indoors. Smelling like expensive cologne and bad decisions. And you better believe I was ready. Michelle walked in like nothing happened. Like she hadn't vanished for 36 hours. Like I wasn't 2 cheating partners deep into a spreadsheet titled, People My Wife Has Lied To. Like she didn't have a disease named after 18th century sailors quietly spreading through our marital bed. She tossed her purse on the kitchen counter, kicked off her boots, and had the nerve to yawn. Like she was the victim of a rough night, not the architect of this little STD opera. Hey, she said casually. Why are you just standing there? I didn't speak. Not yet. I just stared. I think something in my silence finally registered, because she paused and gave me a weird look. Okay, what now? Deep breath. Real calm. Where were you last night? She blinked, caught off guard. I told you, I stayed at Beth's. Beth. Her imaginary friend she always seems to be with when she's cheating. Beth could run a secret spy agency by now with how often she's been the alibi. Oh, I said. Cool. Because Eric says hi. Boom. You ever see someone's soul momentarily try to escape their body? That's what her face did. She didn't even try to play it cool. Her whole expression just went blank, then rebooted into default hysteria mode. Who? She croaked. Eric, I said. Tall. Drives a black Honda. Also has syphilis. Her eyes went wide. Wait, what are you talking about? I don't. This is crazy. She stumbled through half a sentence, then switched tactics entirely. I can't believe you went through my stuff, she snapped. That's abusive, actually. That's a violation of privacy. And just like that, she was the victim. Amazing. I raised an eyebrow. So you're denying it? She hesitated. Just a heartbeat. Then, yes. The lie was so smooth it almost sounded like truth. But I already knew too much. I took a step forward. What about Dylan? Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Who? Come on, Michelle. He's the one who called you his Wednesday constant. Sweet guy. You've been real consistent with the whole fake last name thing, by the way. Silence. Long, dense silence. Then she did what she always does when caught. She cried. Not the real kind. Not the, I'm sorry I hurt you kind. The performative, wide-eyed, chin-wobble sobs that are designed to confuse the audience. Like a bad soap opera actress who skipped rehearsals. You don't know what it's been like being married to you. She suddenly yelled, tears now full throttle. You're boring, and you don't see me, and I needed something that made me feel alive. I blinked. So you gave me syphilis? More crying. At one point, she shouted that I was emotionally unavailable, which, fun fact, is something Dylan also told me she said about Eric. It's like she's workshopping the same script with different casts. Eventually, she stormed upstairs and slammed the door like I was the one ruining her life. Left me there surrounded by the silence of a house full of lies. But I wasn't done, because I had one more call to make. To Beth. You know, Beth, the friend she supposedly stayed with? Yeah, Beth doesn't exist. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect Beth to answer. Because part of me really thought maybe she did exist. That maybe Michelle had at least one real friend left in her web of deceit. Someone who'd lie for her out of loyalty. Someone she could hide behind like a human meat shield. Nope. Beth picked up on the second ring. Hi, this is Beth, she said, chipper and suspiciously professional. Like she expected it to be a work call. Hi, Beth, I said, trying to keep my voice level. I'm Michelle's husband. There was a pause. A long one. Like I just told her I was from the IRS in the afterlife. Oh. Okay. Wow. I didn't know Michelle was married. There it was again. That phrase. I was starting to hear it more often than how are you? I asked her, has she ever stayed over at your place? Beth laughed. No. I barely know her. I think we had lunch once like a year ago. That's it. Beautiful. Glorious. Confirmed. The Beth alibi was pure fiction. I thanked her politely, hung up, and just stood there in my kitchen, heart pounding, hands shaking not with sadness, but with this slow building fire behind my ribs. Not rage, not revenge, just clarity. The game was up. She had no more cover stories. No more Fall Guys. The house of cards was swaying hard. So what did I do next? I made dinner. Yeah, chicken stir-fry. Because nothing throws off a narcissist like acting completely normal while you're disassembling their fantasy brick by brick. She came downstairs around 8 p.m., wearing sweats and a fake pout, like we were gonna do the whole pretend to forgive and forget routine. She sniffled and said, "Can we talk?" I slid her a plate and said, "Sure." And for a full 30 minutes, we talked like a couple who hadn't just given each other venereal diseases. She spun stories, she cried. She said Dylan was just a friend who misread things, and Eric was a mistake during a low point. I just nodded. Let her talk. Let her lie. Because I knew something she didn't. I had already talked to Dylan again. And Eric. Separately. And neither of them knew about the other. So I invited them both over. At the same time. Tomorrow night. So here's what I did. I texted both Eric and Dylan separately. Told Eric. Hey man, I think it's time we talked face to face. You deserve that much. Come by tomorrow at 7. You won't be alone. Told Dylan. There's something you need to see. Come to my place at 7. Just trust me. Neither of them knew about the other. I wanted it that way. I needed it real. No prep. No spoilers. Just truth, raw, uncomfortable, overdue. Michelle, meanwhile, had no clue. She spent the whole day pretending like we were just rebuilding. She even suggested we watch something light after dinner, which I guess is code for, let me manipulate you into forgetting I gave you syphilis. But I wasn't watching Netflix. I was watching the clock. At 6:55, Michelle was curled up on the couch, scrolling on her phone like she didn't have a Care Bear orgy worth of secrets about to knock on the front door. 7 o'clock. Ding dong. Michelle didn't even look up. Can you get that? She said. I opened the door and let Eric in. He looked nervous. Wore a nice button down like he thought this might be some kind of peace talk. Poor guy. Michelle looked up, saw him, and her whole soul visibly evacuated her body. Eric, she said, voice already cracking. And then, like clockwork. Ding dong. I didn't even break eye contact with her. Just opened the door again, and in came Dylan. And now the party was complete. Let me tell you something. If looks could kill, Michelle would have resurrected herself just to die again. Eric turned to Dylan. Who's he? Dylan looked at Michelle. Wait, you told me he was your ex. Eric. Ex? She said she was divorced. Michelle, visibly buffering. Me? I sat down, calmly, like a referee at a boxing match made entirely out of lies. She tried to speak, but it was just noise. Stammering. Excuses. A sentence that started with, "This isn't what it looks like," and ended with nothing because it was exactly what it looked like. Eric turned to me and asked the question I'd been waiting for. How long have you known? I smiled. Since I tested positive. Michelle flinched like the word itself burned. Eric looked at her like she'd grown horns. You didn't tell me. You didn't tell either of us. Dylan looked like he might throw up. That's when Michelle finally snapped. You're all ganging up on me, she shrieked. This is emotional abuse. I can't believe you'd set me up like this. Set her up? Lady, I just opened the front door and your karma walked in wearing clean shoes. She stormed upstairs, slammed the bedroom door, and locked it like she was escaping from us. The three of us just sat there. Nobody said anything for a minute. Then Dylan muttered, What the hell did I get myself into? Eric sighed. You want a drink? I nodded. Absolutely. We toasted with cheap beer in the wreckage of my marriage. No one laughed, but I think we all felt a little lighter. So after the train wreck that was the dinner of the unexpected boyfriends, Michelle locked herself upstairs like she was in frank hiding from the consequences of her own behavior. Meanwhile, me, Eric, and Dylan sat in awkward silence for a while, beers in hand, collectively trying to figure out how our lives became a group project we never signed up for. Eventually, they left. No drama. No fists. Just two very disillusioned dudes muttering good luck, man, on their way out like they were leaving a haunted house. The second the door clicked shut, I heard it. Thud. Crash. Then. You're a psycho. Ah, there it is. Michelle had rejoined the narrative. She came storming down the stairs with mascara halfway to her chin and fury in her eyes like I had just burned down her Sims family. What is wrong with you? She yelled. Me? You mean aside from the syphilis? She didn't appreciate that. You humiliated me. Pretty sure you did that all by yourself. She started pacing, ranting about privacy and emotional terrorism and my premeditated cruelty. She used so many buzzwords I thought she was trying to summon a therapist. Then out of nowhere, she turned on the waterworks again. Like someone hit a switch. I didn't know how to tell you, okay? She sobbed. I didn't want to hurt you. Oh, so sweet. She gave me a 15th century disease out of love. I just stood there, letting her unravel. That's when she tried to flip the script again. Maybe if you'd been more attentive. Maybe if you hadn't been so boring all the time. I held up a hand. Calm. Measured. Michelle, you lied to 3 men. Simultaneously. You gave all of us an STD. You made up an imaginary friend named Beth and convinced me you were sleeping at her place while you were literally out collecting new partners like Pokemon. Her mouth opened. Closed. Nothing came out. And then? She threw a glass. Just launched it across the kitchen. It exploded against the tile backsplash like some kind of passive-aggressive 4th of July. You ruined everything, she shrieked. And you know what I did? I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the moment someone blames you for exposing their lies, you know you're free. I told her, flat out, the lawyer's already on retainer. The test results are documented. The files are backed up. The locks are getting changed. She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she was expecting the old me, the quiet guy who worked long hours and believed every excuse. But that guy? He's gone. And just like that, the fight left her. Her shoulders sagged. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just slumped to the floor, back against the cabinet, like her battery had finally run out. Please don't ruin my life, she whispered. I looked down at her, the woman who once promised me forever, now sitting on the floor of our kitchen like a child caught stealing cookies in syphilis. Michelle, I said softly, you ruined your own life. I'm just finally done cleaning up after it. There's something weirdly peaceful about the morning after a storm. The house was quiet. Michelle had cried herself into a blackout sleep on the couch, her glass-throwing, word-slinging meltdown the night before must have drained her battery. I stepped over her like a sleeping dragon, made coffee, and sat on the porch to breathe for the first time in weeks. I should have been wrecked. Exhausted. Angry. But mostly, I felt free. At 10:12 a.m., the first text came in. From a mutual friend. Let's call her Jenna. Hey, is it true what I heard? I blinked. Hurt? From who? Turns out Dylan talks when he's hurt. And Eric? He posted a long, sad, borderline poetic Facebook status that began with, I met her under a sky full of stars, and she left me under fluorescent clinic lights. It had 40 likes in an hour. Suddenly, people were talking. A few reached out to check on me. A few reached out to gossip. And a few, were Team Michelle. Can you believe that? There's always at least one friend who says, well, nobody's perfect. Another one DM'd me. I'm sure she had her reasons. You guys were always kind of mismatched. Oh, yes. Syphilis, the great equalizer of personality differences. Michelle finally woke up around noon. She shuffled into the kitchen in my old hoodie, the irony, and looked around like a bomb had gone off in her head. Then she checked her phone. I watched it happen in real time. Her face froze, her thumb hovered, and then, oh my God, she muttered. She looked up at me, eyes wide. People know. I sipped my coffee. Yep. You told them. I shrugged. Didn't have to. Your boyfriends are surprisingly articulate. She stared at me like I'd just handed out flyers. They're saying I gave them syphilis, she hissed. I nodded. Well, to be fair, you did. She turned beet red. This is defamation. I laughed. Nope. That's just information. She stormed off to call someone, probably her PR team of enablers, and I sat there, watching my reputation not fall apart. Because here's the thing. Everyone expected me to be the doormat, the nice guy, the pushover, the he'll forgive her type. But I wasn't that guy anymore. Later that day, I got a call from her mom, her actual mother. She sounded tired, real tired, like this wasn't her first time playing cleanup crew for Michelle. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she said. I paused. You knew. Another pause. Long. She has a pattern. We always hoped she'd grow out of it. Well, I didn't even know what to say to that. Her own mom had been waiting for someone else to fix her. Guess that someone ended up being me. Not because I changed Michelle, but because I finally stopped trying. I should have known something was up when I came downstairs and she was making pancakes. Not just a couple. A stack. Like the ones you see on a diner menu under Reconciliation Special. Michelle, in full step-forward mode, was in the kitchen flipping flapjacks and humming something that sounded like a Taylor Swift apology tour. The coffee was already brewed. The table was set. She even cut fruit. I just stood there blinking at her like she was an AI who hadn't quite nailed human behavior. Oh, good morning, she said, all chipper. I raised an eyebrow. Morning. She gestured toward the table. I made breakfast. Thought we could talk. Really talk. Now, normally I wouldn't accept food from someone who'd recently given me an antique STD, but hey, I'm not one to waste blueberries. I sat. She poured coffee like a hostess trying to reset a Yelp rating. Then she sat down across from me, folded her hands, and put on her serious therapy voice. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she began. Here we go. I realized I've been acting out because I never truly healed from my childhood. My therapist says I have avoidant attachment patterns and a deep fear of intimacy. Ah yes. The classic, I cheated on you and infected 3 people because of inner child trauma defense. I didn't interrupt. I let her cook. I was afraid of vulnerability, so I sabotaged the one person who actually loved me unconditionally. She looked up, eyes glistening with weaponized guilt. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, she continued, but I'm ready to do the work. I've already made an appointment with a couples therapist. I want to rebuild. I want to be better for us. Now, this might have worked if she hadn't said something almost identical to Dylan. He sent me screenshots. And to Eric. He recorded a voice memo. And, wait for it, to a 4th guy. Yup. Turns out Michelle had a rotating cast. I hadn't even told her I knew about number 4 yet. So I leaned forward and said, That's beautiful, Michelle. You've clearly done a lot of inner work. She nodded eagerly. Quick question though. Does your therapist know about Sean? The name hit her like a brick through a church window. Her face twitched. Just a fraction. Then she smiled again, but now it looked like it was held together with masking tape. Who's Sean? She asked too quickly. I pulled out my phone and played a short clip Eric had forwarded me. Michelle's voice, crystal clear. You're the only one who gets me, Sean. I don't even feel married when I'm with you. Her hand twitched. The fork she was holding clinked against the plate. I can explain, she started. I held up a hand. Calm. Controlled. Don't. I'm good. Thanks. I stood up, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and added. Pancakes were dry. Then I walked out the door. After the pancake monologue and my walkout, which I stand by, bone-dry pancakes and infidelity don't mix, I drove straight to my lawyer's office. Ron. God bless Ron. He looks like a retired wrestler who got bored and decided to become a divorce attorney for fun. Big hands. Bigger grin. Smelled like eucalyptus and quiet vengeance. You ready to ruin her Tuesday? He asked, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside was everything: proof of infidelity, the texts, screenshots, voice memos, appointment records, dating profiles. If cheating had a syllabus, this was it. She's going to contest it, I said. She'll lie, play the victim, maybe even try that therapy angle again. Ron just smirked. Let her. We're not trying to convince her. We're convincing a judge. And judges don't like liars with syphilis. Solid point. We went over strategy. Ron had already filed the paperwork to freeze our joint accounts. I'd moved out most of my stuff the day before and started using a separate card. We were two trains moving in opposite directions. She just didn't know hers was on fire. Back home, Michelle was sitting in the living room, clearly expecting round 2 of her redemption arc. She patted the seat beside her. Can we just talk without all the sarcasm this time? Sure, I said. I sat. Gave her the gift I brought, a sealed envelope. She looked at it like it might explode. What's this? Just some paperwork. She opened it slowly. The first page, petition for divorce. The second, list of documented infidelities. The third, health report. The fourth, financial asset protection disclosure. And stapled to the back, a printout of her Tinder profile. Headline: recently divorced. Finally free. She stared at it, mouth open, eyes glassy. You're actually serious. Dead serious. You can't just end things like this. Oh, Michelle, I said, standing up. You ended it months ago. You just forgot to send the memo. She followed me, tears forming again. But I thought, after breakfast, I thought we had a chance. Right. That was before Sean. Boom. She folded like a cheap lawn chair. Sat down. Didn't even try to argue this time. She just whispered, what do I do now? I almost said, maybe ask one of your boyfriends, but I didn't. Growth, right? Instead, I gave her the most honest sentence I've said since this all began. I don't care what you do, as long as it's far away from me. Then I left. So let's set the scene. Michelle's best friend, one of the few still speaking to her, was throwing a 35th birthday party. Small gathering. Rooftop. String lights. Wine. The kind of thing where people say intimate vibes and someone brings a charcuterie board nobody actually touches. I wasn't invited. Naturally. But around 9:40 p.m., my phone buzzes. It's Dylan. Bro, are you seeing this? I replied. Seeing what? He sends me a video. I almost didn't watch it. Then I pressed play. And there she was. Michelle. Standing on a patio table. Wine in hand. Eyes glossy. Holding a microphone. Where it came from, no one knows. The video's shaky, but her voice is clear as day. I just want to say. I've made mistakes, she slurs. Big ones. But you know what? Everyone cheats. Everyone lies. I just got caught. Gasps. Nervous laughter. Someone whispers, oh my God. Michelle keeps going. I loved my husband. Still do. But he's so cold now. So logical. So calculated. He weaponized my mistakes. Oh, Michelle. Sweetheart. I didn't weaponize your mistakes. I just read them back to you in order. She starts listing excuses. Childhood trauma again. Emotional starvation. I was unseen, she says, which would have been powerful if she wasn't 3 glasses and a boxed Cabernet. Then, this part? This part made the night. She shouts. And for the record, I only had sex with 3. And someone, bless them, cuts the mic. Dead silence. Michelle stands there, swaying. Then she hiccups. Stares around. And in a final act of karmic poetry, she falls off the table, right into a bowl of guacamole. Video ends. I stared at my phone, speechless. Then Dylan texts again. It gets better. Eric's here too. Turns out both Dylan and Eric had been invited by mutual friends, without knowing each other would be there. But instead of fighting or leaving, they had bonded. Apparently, midway through the night, they shared a smoke on the balcony and realized they both got ghosted by the same woman with the same prescription. They clinked drinks and toasted to shared trauma and cured infections. Now they're planning a podcast. I'm not kidding. It's called Dudes, she lied. As for Michelle, she was helped home by a very uncomfortable Uber driver and hasn't posted since. Radio silent. Probably licking emotional wounds and scrubbing guac from her eyebrows. And me? I slept like a baby. It's been 2 weeks since the guacamole speech. 2 glorious, peaceful, drama-free weeks. No new texts. No surprise calls. No sudden appearances in my driveway with shaky mascara and redemption monologues. Just silence. And honestly, I didn't realize how loud my life had been until it stopped. I got my own place. Not fancy. Not huge. But it's mine. I hung my first piece of wall art in a decade. Something abstract and kind of ugly, but I like it. I even started cooking again. Like actual meals. With spices. I forgot how much I liked feeding myself on purpose instead of just surviving. Work's been better. I'm sleeping again. And one of my coworkers, Rachel, brought me coffee last Thursday and said, "You look different." I said, "New moisturizer." She didn't believe me, but she smiled. And then today, out of nowhere, Michelle texted. Just one message. "I don't even know who I am without you." Let that one sink in. The same woman who told me she was exploring her freedom, who made up an imaginary friend to cheat behind, who blamed me for her lies and threw a glass at my face. Now she's texting me poetic self-reflection like we're in a Nicholas Sparks novel. I stared at it for a while. I thought maybe I'd feel something. Maybe guilt, or pity, or anger, or the old temptation to fix what was broken. But no, just peace. So I typed back, "I hope you figure it out," and hit send. That's it. No essay, no sarcasm, no parting jab, because I'm not in that story anymore. She doesn't get to drag me back in with sad little breadcrumbs and emotional cliffhangers. I'm not her audience. I'm the author now. So, what do you do after your marriage collapses in a blaze of lies, microphones, and Tinder boyfriends? You go on a walk. That's what I did last Sunday. No plan. Just shoes on, hoodie up, and out the door. It was cold. Breezy. The kind of chill that feels clean. The kind that reminds you you've got skin and blood and a pulse. I walked past a little park with a dog and a sweater chasing pigeons. I laughed, alone, and it felt good. Not a mask laugh. A real one. Somewhere around mile 3, I realized something. I was never really mad about the cheating. Okay, I was mad. But what really cracked me open wasn't the betrayal, it was how small I had made myself just to keep it all going. I dimmed down to fit inside her world. I ignored gut feelings. I let "we're just friends" pass. I believed in imaginary Beth. I kept shrinking to keep the peace, until I couldn't see myself anymore. And the moment I stopped doing that, she lost her grip. Because she wasn't in love with me, she was in love with a version of me that didn't ask questions. That's the scariest part of being cheated on. Not just the lies. It's realizing how much you were willing to swallow just to keep the illusion going. But here's the good news. I'm done swallowing. I'm done shrinking. I'm not perfect. I still triple-check my phone every time a number I don't recognize calls. I still have weird dreams where Michelle's apologizing while setting the house on fire. Healing's not linear. But man, it's mine. I have my own place now. I adopted a dog, her name's Maple. She's got anxiety and hates squirrels, so we get each other. I reconnected with my brother. I went to a trivia night. I've been learning how to cook rice properly because I just found out you're supposed to rinse it. And I smile more. Not performative, not sarcastic. Real ones. Like right now. So if you're someone sitting in a relationship you're scared to question, if you feel small or confused or like you're losing yourself for the sake of keeping it together, let me say this plainly. Ask the questions, even if it breaks things. Because trust me, you can rebuild. You just have to be willing to start with you.